I don't pay attention often, but I caught that one.
Okay, lovely, lovely. Okay, um, I believe I've told you this quote from a Burmese monk before, and I believe it's important enough to repeat, which goes like this. All beings experience hardship. The enlightened ones are not perturbed. All beings experience hardship. The enlightened ones are not perturbed. Remember how we were talking about the rescue last time? And there's in the on the path that we're walking or the path that we're traveling, the rescue is not from hardship. The rescue is not from your child never getting sick again. It's not from poor eyesight. The rescue is not from balding. To what extent can the rescue be from getting upset about that? That's what we're looking at. So Greg's addition to those two lines of poetry is this. Those who are fortunate to be educated and trained are on the path of being unperturbed. That's us, people. We are fortunate to being educated and trained. Like, it's not enough just to get the information. You gotta do the training. That's what we're all about. We are getting educated and trained so that the hardship is not causing perturbation. That's a massive challenge. But you know what? Even one step in that direction benefits you because there will be more hardship. And to any extent that we can live in such a way that the hardship does not cause anxiety, regret, anger, aggression, we are better off. And so is everyone around us. All right. So here's what I want us to work on today. It's about creating inner resources for when we face those difficult situations. So we're going to go, I'm going to discuss what a resource is, then the two primary pillars of an inner resource, and then a series of exercises that could become inner resources for you. Okay. To do that, I need to talk about your nervous system. Because it's actually your nervous system that we're training to not become perturbed. We could put it differently. We're training your nervous system to be grounded and centered. Grounded and centered. Even in the midst of all of the weirdness that life has. Okay. So you may be familiar with the fight-flight reactivity mode of the autonomic nervous system. Raise your hand if you've heard of that and it makes sense. And Greg does not need to explain that again. Great. Okay. Then you probably have heard of the freeze mode. Fight, flight, those are both highly activated. And then there's freeze, which is the opposite of activated. You're shutting down, you're withdrawing, you're defending. In that case, hyper arousal is a survival mechanism, and hypoarousal is another mechanism of survival. The hyper is fight or flight. The hypo is freeze or numb. For our situation, both hyper and hypo are dysregulated. A regulated nervous system is here in the middle, where it can tolerate whatever is going on without freaking out, without going into panic, or without closing down. Part of what we're going to do today is find ways to help keep ourselves in that window of tolerance. Okay. Okay, so I'm going to offer a few exercises really soon, but first I want us to tune into this question. How do we know if this exercise works? How can we tell? Well, there are some ways. Here's one really good indicator that your system, your nervous system, is able to become a little more grounded and centered. You feel or you hear yourself do this. Yeah, just a sigh. So would you please practice that with me? Just go. Oh, yeah. Great, great. Okay, here's some other things. Watch my shoulders. Here's some other things. Watch my jaw muscles. When your body settles, when your muscles soften, not everything softens, but for example, your belly can soften, your jaw muscles can soften, your shoulders can soften. Usually, or sometimes, your hands can soften. One of the things that I can't show you, but so I've only got words to describe this, is an internal sensation of spaciousness. So the opposite of that is constriction, closing down, backing off, getting defensive or aggressive. In both situations, my body is highly constricted. And then there's, oh yeah, spaciousness. Okay. So those are some of the most obvious ways that whatever you're doing is helping your nervous system to slow down. Or if you're in numb mode, to speed up. Okay. I want to talk about these two terms, grounded and centered. So, grounded, I'd like you to think of a tree. You know, there's a Japanese saying, if the roots are deep enough, no need to fear the wind. We can be grounded or rooted and stable. So that's what I mean by rooted. So now what do I mean by centered? Centered means you've got personal power inside. You might have been in situations where your personal power seemed like they had my power. Like whatever they think or they feel, or sometimes whatever gestures they give with their face pushes me all over because my center of gravity is in their possession. Why? Because that's where I put it. Now, there are situations where sometimes our safety actually does depend on someone else. We're talking about having a sense of agency or power that is internal. Mm. Mm. Here's a word that I like around centered. Contained. Contained. You're not flying off the handle. You're not reacting in ways you don't want to react. You've got your power and it's contained. Okay. That's as much explanation as I was going to give before we launch into practices. Before we do, I want to see if you have any questions or comments. Okay, then we're going to get up and stand up and shake what you got. Yeah, actually, while we're waiting for other people to stand up, just give your body a little shiver, a little shimmy. Okay. All right. So, we have some dancing people. Okay. So for now, would you please put your feet a little wider than hip width apart? Now pour your weight into one leg and let the other foot be light enough that you can pick it off the ground. Not very far, just an inch or two. And then let it settle back into the ground. And then sway over to that other leg. So I want you to continue swaying back and forth while I talk to you about grounding. The amount of attention that's going into that foot and the amount of pressure coming from your weight is a way of feeling grounded through that foot. Okay, and slow down the swaying and just stand with equal weight in each foot. And imagine there's roots down below each foot into the earth. This is what it's like to be grounded while standing. Grounded. Feel that connection with the earth. That interface is grounding. Okay. Now, one hand to your belly and the other hand to your heart. Okay. Take a couple of breaths here and remember that word contained. And check in to see if it feels like your power is contained. Now take one of those hands and put it over your solar plexus, around where your diaphragm is, and see if that helps create that sense of containment. So I'm asking you to check in with how your body feels. I'm asking you to move your hands, looking for a sense of containment, where it feels like you've got power inside. the seat of authority is inside. Wherever the hand is that feels like it's got the most connection to helping your body feel centered, put the other hand over the top of that one. So now you've got two hands in one location. And for now, stand as tall as you can be, not on your tiptoes. Keep your feet flat on the floor, but be tall through your feet, through your ankles, through both legs into the hips, tall up through the spine, into the head, and tall above your head, connecting with the sky above and the earth below, contained and connected. Yeah. Okay. So let your hands down, wiggle them, do whatever they need to do so that you can come back to a seated posture. Okay. So now I'm going to continue giving directions for resources that help your body to feel grounded and centered. This one is called orienting. Use your eyeballs. Look around the space where you are. This is really helpful because often when we're in panic mode or we're in regret mode, we are confused with what's actually happening. Okay, so last part of visually orienting, find two things that when you see them, you can feel your heart go, oh, like, ah, or Okay. What's happening there is you're using your eyes to find something beautiful or funny, which when we feel threatened, that is not what we're looking for. We are seeing tigers and bulldozers with scary drivers everywhere. And we're not seeing what's actually here. Okay, we're going to do the same with sound. Direct your ears to hear the farthest away sound. And now a middle distance sound. And now a sound really, really close. And if you, I'd like you to hear your breathing. So it can sometimes help to constrict the throat a little bit to sound like the ocean as you breathe in and out. Okay. And we'll release this, the breathing technique and the listening to breath. So this form of orienting is a way to help us come into what's actually here and now. and not be carried away with the stories that we're telling ourselves. Okay, so here's a new practice. Bring your hands to about your elbows and just squeeze your elbows. And then squeeze the forearms towards the body. So now I'm pressing in a little bit as I'm squeezing. Yeah. And then the hands can walk up over the biceps and triceps. And if you like, up to the shoulders, squeezing as they go. Now, what you're doing is you're attending to determining whether this is something that helps your body feel grounded or centered. Is there a sense of relaxation or softening? Is there a kind of a sigh in your body as you hold or hug your body? Remember to draw the arms into the torso a little bit, now and again, to see if that pressure is soothing. Okay. Yeah. Okay. All right. And remember how okay, so that was the hands creating a squeeze, or the hands squeezing. So I want us to go back to some version of hand over heart, or hand over belly, or hand over solar plexus. Notice now in the sitting position whether there's a sense of settling in your body. And you can change where those hands are. And by the way, today's position of the hands might be different from tomorrow's. But for many of us, having our torsos touched in a loving, encouraging, and supportive way is soothing and settling to the nervous system. Okay. And here's what we're going to attend to next is the breath. So let your hands go to wherever they'll be comfortable. They can stay where they are if you like. We're just going to notice that relatively unconscious breathing has this oscillation, just like waves on the beach. An inhale is followed by an exhale, is followed by an inhale. So that oscillation in itself is, or can be, soothing, like you're rocking your body from the inside. The breath is happening all by itself. And it's a living demonstration that life persists. Okay, now I'd like you to shift your breathing and deliberately affect your breathing. We'll use the box breath, where you count 4 counts for each your inhalation, your pause at the top of the inhalation, your exhalation and your pause at the bottom of the exhalation. Each of those is 4 counts. Whether you count up to 4 or from 4 to 1, that's your choice. As you breathe in this very determined way, you're shifting your nervous system by affecting your breath. If you'd like, you can lengthen the time between the numbers, or you could just count higher. What's important here is not that you stress your body. What's important is that you find a rhythm where your body settles. Your nervous system says, ah. Okay. And release the box breath. And let your breathing return to normal. And then we're going to practice the 3+1 breath. We did that last week. It's an inhalation into the belly, followed by an inhalation into the heart area, followed by an inhalation into the head area. So that's the 3. And then there's the long exhalation. So use your own count rhythm. But emphasize when you breathe into the belly, you're pressing the belly out. And then when you breathe into the heart area, you're expanding all around your heart, even behind your heart. Then when you take in that extra sip at the very end, your whole head is expanding with air, with breath, with space. The exhalation is long and slow and easy. As much as you can, make the breathing actions smooth. Okay. So that's the 3+1 breath. Okay. Here's the last exercise for a resource to help your system feel grounded and centered. Find 3 things about your life right now that are good. When you've got one, you can curl one finger to touch the palm, and that's 1. When you've got the second one, you curl a second finger to touch the palm, that's 2. Eventually, you'll get the third finger touching the palm with 3. Okay. Now review what they are. What is that first one? And the second one? And the third one? So I'd like you to tune into your nervous system to notice whether this memory and bringing the good into the present moment is soothing or regulating to your nervous system. Okay, so here's what I'd like you to do now. Write on your paper the first and second choice of exercises to be resources for grounded and centered. Okay, because we're going to use this. We're going to use these two exercises in what we do next. Okay. So I'm wanting you to have a primary and a secondary resource. And if it helps, here's what we did. We did orienting to space visually and auditorily. We did the squeezing hands and then hands on the torso. We did the box breath and the 3+1 breath. And remembering the good. I can bet that there's more for you, but this is what we're going to work with today. So you've got written down your top choice and your second choice for how to work with what we're about to do. So we need to see your hand up if you're ready to go on. Yeah, okay, so, all right, let's go. Okay, so in your near future, if you're a human being, you likely have something that is not so pleasant, that needs to be done, but you don't look forward to it. You'd rather avoid it. You'd rather it not have to be done. And if you've done it in the past, it hasn't necessarily felt good. So it could be washing the floor. It could be telling your partner they have bad breath in the morning. It could be reprimanding your child. It could be your partner telling you something that is hard for you to hear. It could be going to the state capitol to protest. Any of those that kind of gets a little bit like your system is either gets like a little hyper and that's what the anxiety is, or there's, I don't want to do that. That's the pushing away. That's part of the freeze mode. Either of those is outside this window of tolerance. Well, I'm not sure that it's outside the window of tolerance. Let's just put it this way. There's either anxiety or there's pushing away from it. Both of those count. Like that stuff is going to happen in our lives. So would you raise your hand if you've got something in mind? And this is, it needs to be a real thing. I'm seeing 1 hand, 2, 3, 4. Something that needs to be done. You don't really want to do it, but you gotta do it. And hands down. Okay. Yvonne, I'm seeing no hand up. Oh, it is up. Okay, that's good enough. All right. So here's what we're going to do. I want you to connect to that grounding and centering exercise. Like, let your body come into a state of grounded and centered. Grounded is rooted. Grounded is stable. Centered is you've got power. Okay. So you can feel that in your body. That's your nervous system in a good way. Okay. While that's happening, bring to mind that action that needs to happen, that's uncomfortable, that's unwanted, that's undesirable. And as best you can, sustain grounded and centered using that resource. You can, if needed, you can let go of the unwanted, undesirable activity and just reground, recenter. When you feel that power inside and the stability and rootedness, then bring into mind that action that needs to be done. As best you can, allow grounded and centered to be present while you're thinking about or you're imagining this unpleasant thing to do. Okay. I want you to get a sense that both of these can be experienced simultaneously. Okay, so let go of that particular activity. Let go of that particular thing that you know that needs to be done, but you don't want to do. And just take a couple of breaths, just like you could rinse that experience out of your body. Yeah, okay. So we're going to do that again. And you can use the same activity in the future that you don't want to do, but you know you need to do. Or you could choose a new one. Maybe it's going shopping. Maybe it's finishing the laundry. Maybe it's unclogging the sink. Maybe it's taking your neighbor's dog for a walk. It doesn't really matter what it is. What matters is there's a little bit of resistance, or there's a little bit of anxiety. That's good enough for us. Okay, so put your hand up if you've got something to work with that's undesirable. Okay, yeah. Arlo? Yeah, okay. So hands down. And try using your second choice resource to ignite or incite that quality of, oh yeah, this is grounded and this is centered. Okay. And at the same time now, introduce that activity that needs to be done that you're not looking forward to. As best you can, sustain both. Okay. Yeah. All right. And for now, release that activity and release the resource. Close your eyes if you feel comfortable doing so, or eyes open is okay too. I just want to take 30 seconds here to talk about your future. You've been training to be in a grounded and centered state when the shit hits the fan, when difficulty arises. You are getting educated and trained to deal with hardship in a way that is less and less perturbing. And being grounded and centered are actually physical sensations that can help you when things get difficult. Okay. All right. So take a big breath in. And at the top of that breath, suck in a little more and stay there for a moment, imagining all your cells are saturating, gathering into themselves the practices that you've just been doing, and you're getting them ingrained in your genome. And when you're ready, let this sigh out with a whoosh. And then let your eyes come up. Your eyelids come up and your attention back to the screen.